Good evening everyone, and welcome to the Planning and Highways Committee meeting today, the 4th of February. I've got to go through some housekeeping rules, if you could just bear with me. Thank you to all members of the public, councillors and officers who are joining us for today's meeting. Councillors and officers are reminded of their commitment to civility and respect pledge and to be mindful of this during tonight's meeting. Please be aware that the Council is video recording this meeting and this will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. I would just like to highlight some key points of the meeting format. Please can I ask everyone to have their phones turned off or set to silent. If councillors have any concerns about hearing or seeing others in the meeting, please let the chair or the council officer know straight away. The fire exits are clearly marked with the two in the room, and there and on there. The assembly points is the flat grass area by the patio out there. Members of the public are invited to participate in the meeting with key points as follows. Public participation is limited to a maximum of 4 minutes per person and must be relating to an item of business on the agenda. As chair, I will interject if needed to enforce this. For those looking to speak specifically about planning or tree works application on the agenda, you will be invited to speak immediately before the committee considers that application. For those looking to speak on non-planning application business, you will be invited to speak during the public participation agenda item. Please raise your hand to show you wish to speak and I will invite you to speak. If you are comfortable standing, please do so to ensure you can be heard across the room. You do not need to state your name when you start to speak, if you do not wish to, but we ask that you clearly state which agenda item you are speaking about. I would ask that participants looking to leave the meeting wait until the end of the agenda item to limit distraction for other participants. If the meeting goes, to all present, please remember to show respect to others in the meeting and avoid interrupting where possible to enable others to follow the meeting. If any councillor feels concerned about any aspect of the meeting or discussion, please clearly state point of order. I will then gesture for you to elaborate. If anyone present is felt to be behaving unacceptably, they can be ejected from the meeting by resolution. Thank you for listening. On behalf of the council, I'd like to thank everyone for attending this town council meeting. Thank you. Right, we move on to our agenda. Agenda item 1, apologies for absent. And I've got Councillor Buchanan and substituted by Councillor Meek. Thank you, Councillor Meek. Item 2, disclosure of interest. To deal with any disclosure by members of any disclosable pecuniary interest and interest other than pecuniary interest as defined under the Seaford Town Council Code of Conduct and Local Liaison Act 2011 in relation to matters on the agenda. Agenda item 3, public participation. To deal with any questions or brief representations from members of the public in accordance with relevant legislation and the Seaford Town Council policy. In accordance with Seaford Town Council policy, members of the public wishing to speak on individual planning applications may do so immediately before each planning application. So, first of all, I'd like to thank all members of the public for coming and also for all the hard work and information you have supplied this committee through your emails and and everything. It's been most helpful, and I do appreciate the time you have put into this.
Yeah.
So thank you. I have members of the public, if they wish to speak on the Lewes District Local Plan consultation, because that is the next item on the agenda. So if you'd like to speak, your chance is now. Okay. So, lady at the front.
Thank you.
And I will keep to the 4 minutes tonight, as there's so many.
Hi, can you hear me? I've written to all of you, sending a report on the effect. Agenda item 4. I've written to all of you, sending a report on the effects the draft local plan will have on Seaford, and a follow-up email today expanding on responses to particular questions from Lewes planners. I'm sure other residents will make many of the points tonight, so I won't repeat them. I would like to focus on the neighbourhood plan. Paragraph 31 of the NPPF makes it clear that if policies in a newly adopted local plan are in conflict with an existing neighbourhood plan, then the local plan takes precedence. 2 senior planning officers from Lewes District Council have said the Town Council should be reviewing the neighbourhood plan now in preparation for the draft local plan being adopted. Mark Dorfman, Lewes District Council Senior Planner, told Councillor Markwell that Seaford Town Council can apply for between £2,000 and £5,000 to employ a consultant. Ringmer has already started this process. The only way to meet the density being imposed on Seaford is to build upwards. We need to consider including policies on redevelopment in the neighbourhood plan to protect sensitive areas. It wasn't that long ago Lewes District Council planning officers recommended approval for an 18-storey tower block in Newhaven. Luckily, this was deferred due to the intervention of councillors on the planning committee. I also raised a query with Matthew Hitchens, Lewes planning officer, to say if biodiversity net gain can't be met on site, could the money be spent on Seaford environmental projects such as trees for Seaford, community orchards and nature recovery on Seaford Head, rather than the biodiversity being transferred many miles from Seaford? He said he didn't know if this was possible as they hadn't fully developed the strategy, but said Seaford Town Council should explore this option by raising it during the consultation process. The proposed planning bill is seeking to take decisions on planning away from local planning committees and residents. Decisions will be made solely on whether an application meets the policies of the local plan and the neighbourhood plan. It's for this reason we need to act now to ensure Seaford is protected. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Chair and members. I also wish to speak on agenda item 4, needless to say, about the local plan. We're now beginning to see how the draft Lewes local plan is developing and how it will affect our town over the next 15 years. It would appear that Lewes District Council has decided to concentrate a larger proportion of new development on the coastal strip, which obviously, as you all know, is basically Seaford, Newhaven and Peacehaven. This has a wide-ranging implication for Seaford. It's classified as a district centre, which under the current proposals is required to have a minimum density of 50 dwellings per hectare for new developments. Now bear in mind the fact that this is a minimum, not a maximum figure for development. So there's no ifs and no buts on that at the moment. This is irrespective of any sensitivity on any site for development. Now, I suppose the question for Seaford Town Council is this equitable, for example? So could the Town Council lobby perhaps Lewes District for this mandatory policy requirement, perhaps to either be reduced or mitigated in certain circumstances? We're told by Lewes planners that such high density on new developments mean basically we should get used to a minimum of 4-storey buildings, and many of these buildings are obviously likely to contain flats. It's evident that to achieve such a density, dwellings may be smaller and green space on developments much reduced. And you've got to bear in mind the fact that these developments will be built by private developers. So the question is, will they be dwellings perhaps that Seaford actually needs? Now, such high density dwellings in Seaford will increase our population. So how will we consider our inadequate services that we've got and our creaking infrastructure? How will it cope with these extra numbers? Now, sites have already been identified for development for Seaford under the Land Availability Assessment, called the LAA. There's two major sites for development, and they're being opposed by residents, and I've no doubt that other sites will also be. But I'd like to point out that you should bear in mind that these assessments under the LAA, they contain indicative number of dwellings, which could well be an underestimate of the numbers required by the proposed density policy which I mentioned. Now, this is made clear in the supporting documents, which state, and I quote, any specific site and the assumptions made on densities in the LLA should not be considered as agreed. So these numbers may well, therefore, perhaps lull you into a false sense of security, which you've got to bear in mind. Now, in relation to Chingington Field, for example, which is identified in the LAA, I'm aware that a planning application was lodged some time ago in 2016 for development, but this was steadfastly opposed by Seaford Town Council. Now, Chingington Field is a sensitive area and obviously adjoins the National Park, and obviously we consider the residents should be protected. So we would hope that the Town Council would also oppose this and any other major development. For example, St John's School, in there's a problem obviously about incurring the loss of further school playing fields. And the impression I'm getting from people is about the local plan is one of bewilderment, particularly bearing in mind the huge number of documents that you've got to read through and the fact there's no obvious linkage sometimes between them. But what we should be aware of is that other parish and town councils, perhaps with fewer resources than we have in this town, are nonetheless fighting their corner, and they've been engaging with Lewes District Council to have their voice heard. My question therefore is that does the Town Council intend to respond to the local plan in the same robust manner? Local residents, obviously, as we all know, have been active in responding to the proposals, but we have been told that our voice carries less weight than perhaps statutory bodies. So I hope that the Town Council will fully engage with the process and speak in the interest of the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Just within the time. We go along the front row. Who else?
Sorry. Christine Richardson. Agenda item 4. It seems to me that it seems to me that one of the main problems with the local plan for Seaford, particularly, is sustainable development. That we already have extremely stretched services, transport links, etc. That is going to make any increase in housing very difficult to achieve. Since we're hardly supporting the households that we already have with GP services, dentistry and vehicle access. So I'll just... So Strategic Policy SDS1, Ageing Spatial Strategy, mentions making effective use and reuse of land including previously developed land. And of course, I'd like to speak about, in particular, St John, the former St John site on Fell Road. The thing about this is that most of the site is actually playing fields, and it's never been previously developed, and would be an excellent candidate for the town to purchase with the money they hold from the sale of the land previously used for sports at their former Newlands school. Because it's not just about buying land, it's actually about finding it within the town boundary. It also states, the same policy, SDS1, that development should be located at the most accessible and sustainable locations. So I'm sure that any of those people here who are familiar with Fell Road will know that in character it is simply a country lane, not even wide enough to be marked with a centre line. And in my opinion, it cannot deliver sustainable transport links because there is no pavement for walkers, wheelchairs or pushchairs, no bus service, and in fact, if there was one, there wouldn't be anywhere for passengers to alight. Thinking more broadly, Seaford does not have good vehicle access to the A27. Only two routes, one to the A26, which in itself is a partially upgraded B road, and the restricted route through Alfriston to flooding. I'm now going to read from something that was written by a neighbour of mine, Diane Revilius. So she's divided this into area which comes under Theme, Design, Landscape and Built Environment, Strategic Policy D1. St John's is in an AOEC area of established character, Firle Road. And the former St John site is entirely surrounded by detached houses on their own plots. So whatever density you have that's above the sort of 10 that's normal around that area is more than what we've got already. It's a suburban site, it's not within the town centre, and therefore it seems that the proposed 37.5 per dwellings per hectare is too high, and even larger suburban areas seldom go beyond a density of 35 per hectare, which, unless there is a good area of open lane, the proposal is not in character. We've got a brief part about the history with covenants. The site has...
coming to the end of your time.
Okay, right, I'll be very quick.
Your time is actually up now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Charlie Grimble. There's a huge mountain of stuff, as Jackie has said, so I want to cut to the quick. Read two sentences that, to my mind, encapsulate the problem that Seaford has got. Policy H1, within district centres and other locations that are well served by public transport, a minimum density of 50 dwellings per hectare is required. That policy must be qualified. Because if it isn't, our Seaford neighbourhood plan becomes irrelevant for the reasons Jackie has already spelled out. So it's got to be qualified. So being a visual sort of person, what does 50 look like? And I've given you a table that shows that there are only 2 housing sites in Seaford that have been developed at 50 and still have housing. One is Elm Court, down the bottom of Blatchington Hill, and the other is Sutton Lees, opposite Cookmere House School. Both of them are rammed tight. Yeah? So that's what it means, to put it simply, 50 means flats. Don't let any planner tell you otherwise. Okay? So that's the first point. You've got the detailed evidence, so I won't repeat what I've said there. What I will move on to is the second point that I want to make, which is about recreation space. In 2019, a Section 106 agreement was signed on Newland School, paying £350,000 to Lewis, saying that a football pitch was not required there, and it could be found somewhere else within Seaford, and you've got 5 years to find it. There are only 23 weeks left before that 5 years is up. It expires on the 15th of July of this year. Then the money goes to Telscombe, Peacehaven, or New Haven. Yeah. Good luck if they could find a space there, given that they are a district centre as well and subject to the same problems. So then another 2 years passes and you can look to see if you can put it on the Crouch. That's specific in the Section 106 agreement. Yeah? Or the Salts. Those are the two places that the Section 106 specifies in the clause. I don't think they'll find it anywhere. So I turn to the next sentence that, to my mind, encapsulates the stupidity of this whole situation regarding recreation space. And the quote is from the site for St John's, but it applies elsewhere. The former St John's School site is institutional ground. The study does not identify a surplus or deficiency for Seaford in respect of institutional grounds on the basis that there is no national standard or benchmark against which to measure. In other words, there is no deficit of recreation space because there's no target. I have given you in my paper the appendix which produced specific evidence that there was a deficit of recreation space in Seaford in the neighbourhood plan, and on that basis we created the things that defend recreation space.
I'm sorry, I have to bring you to an end.
So,
4 minutes are up.
okay, thank you very much indeed. I've made my 2 points. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Remember that. This is in reference to the next point on the agenda. I want to appeal to you with regards to the forthcoming planning proposals. I feel this is a pivotal time in Seaford Town planning. We've elected all of you. We trust you, the council members, to represent us, to be our voice, and to make sure that the decisions being made are going to be the best for Seaford. It's well recognised. This is a very scratchy one. It's well recognised there's a huge pressure to build new homes and to meet the wider targets. We want our children to be able to afford houses in this area. I'm not against change, we need to embrace it. However, we have to drive from the Buckle to Martello Tower to see the legacy of previous planning decisions made. There's been no adoption of a plan, no cohesive vision, just a handful of ugly, disparate individual developments. I've no insight as to how the development in Newlands or McCarthy and Stone have contributed towards making Seaford a better place to live. If there were any financial contributions made to the town, these have not been publicised. These have not been publicised. These 2 recent large-scale developments are, in my opinion, missed opportunities. With all of the planning decisions for multiple dwellings, we need to be ensuring that each and every development is benefiting Seaford. We also need to make sure that each of these developments is as green as possible and considers the environment. Every new property needs to have a green energy, either solar or heat pump as a minimum. Our planning decisions should not be dictated to or overruled by Lewis or any other planning groups that are not closely connected with Seaford. People who don't have a real understanding of what Seaford is like or needs. We need to see this another way, grasp this as an opportunity to develop Seaford with vision, ready for the next generation. We need you to be our voice on these committees. We need you to stand loud and proud to make sure that Seaford is heard and well represented. Please put any party politics aside. Work together and speak with a single united voice. Please be humble enough to listen to us and utilise the hundreds of hours of research that have been carried out by my fellow Seaford residents, many of whom are here today. This is an opportunity to build a legacy in 20 years' time that you'll be able to say, as councillors, I was on the project that helped turn the row of shops into a thriving retail area, giving Seaford people what they needed. I was one of the councillors who helped protect our green spaces, not stood back and allowed buildings on our fields that border our town and one of our major assets. Please have the courage to represent us. Make sure this is done right. Say no to high density developments. Make sure that local and neighbourhood plans are adhered to maintain the character of Seaford. When required, please point out that it's not right to move a boundary or border to help with a bigger target. Once a greenfield is lost, it's gone forever. Finally, if you need one more example of why we need to have strong local representation, one of the major attractions of the town is the seafront. People coming from miles around to park for free and enjoy sitting on the beach and go for a swim. You only have to drive along the seafront on a sunny day during the summer to see every parking space taken as a measure of its appeal. By adding hundreds of extra houses, potentially thousands of extra residents, how will the current sewage system possibly cope? What alternative will there be than to further pollute the sea? Who then will want to come to Seaford? Please honour your commitment. As councillors, grasp this opportunity. Do the right thing for Seaford, our children and our grandchildren. Be bold, be heard, be our voice.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Iona Price and I'd like to talk on item 4, which is the draft Lewis plan. Since the pandemic, everyone living in our town will be aware of the extraordinary increase in visitor numbers to Seaford. Thanks to social media, we have seen an explosion in tourist numbers year-round, with many cars, coaches and minibuses parking at South Hill Barn to visit and photograph the iconic views across to the Seven Sisters. Over the summer weekends, additional carriages are added to the Seaford train to accommodate the walkers taking the path at Splash Point to join the Seaford to Eastbourne section of what is now known as the King Charles Trail. Today our visitors, not just domestic but also international visitors, South Korean and Chinese tourists in particular, certainly recognise more than Seaford's unspoilt seafront. One would expect to see this exceptional rise in visitor numbers reflected in the latest Lewis draft local plan, which they aren't. Having attended the drop-in session at the Downs Leisure Centre last week, I was told these areas of Seaford, currently drawing in large numbers of visitors, are all deliberately excluded from the Lewis draft plan because although in Seaford, they are within the South Downs National Park. I admit I am baffled. With this approach, Seaford is at an immediate disadvantage, as only a partial picture of the town, with its benefits and challenges, is being presented by its district council. In discussions, Lewis representatives were surprised that Seaford are expected to pay for maintaining the path from South Hill Barn car park to the Coast Guard cottages. Lewis, it seems, may not have a clear picture of how the relationship between the National Park and Seaford works. The draft plan suggests Seaford needs a bowling alley or a cinema to attract visitors. I think if Seaford had space for a bowling alley or multiplex, we residents would prefer the much needed new medical centre to be built.
Amen.
The impact of social media on tourists visiting our town has been extraordinary, and realistically we can only expect these numbers to grow. The genie's out of the bottle, we have to deal with it. I would ask Seaford Town Council to recognise this fact by establishing a new tourism strategy for the town and to add tourism to the portfolio of at least one town councillor or a dedicated tourism committee. The impact, needs and safety of these visitors must be considered and managed, and this should be embodied across all town council committees. Liaison is needed between Seaford Town Council, South Downs National Park, National Trust, Eastbourne District Council, and in particular Lewis District Council, regarding establishing an up-to-date picture of visitor numbers across our area, and together managing the impact they are having. You've probably noticed Jinkton Field has crept into the draft plan as a potential plot for housing, totally ignoring past findings, regarding the unsuitability of the site for development, and also conveniently ignoring the fact that it's right on the edge of the South Downs National Park, with everything that brings, and the situation that the Town Council are currently trying to deal with. This field should be withdrawn from the draft plan. A better understanding of Seaford must be reflected in the Lewis Draft Council Plan, and I trust Seaford Town Council will work to achieve this. Thank you.
Good evening. I'd also like to talk on agenda item number 4, the draft local plan. Firstly, it has been said about how complicated this process is. You have to log into an unstable planning portal, which often crashes. It's very, very computer orientated, which means that some people are completely unable to take part in this. Papers have been left around for some people to take away from the drop-ins, but this isn't quite enough really to help everybody. The papers are being updated after the launch, so therefore if you click on one of the links, you may well go to a new updated paper and be answering different to somebody else because you've got new information. Should this be allowed? There are 179 questions. This is overwhelming for just about everybody, even those that have been working hours and hours on this process. However, there is no question that is specific just for sites. So if anybody wants to talk about a site, there's no specific question, and I can't get guidance to say as to which one we should be filling in. Seaford Town Council, for the last consultation, published their guidance, and they published it on the internet to help people complete their questionnaires and surveys. Can I please ask that this happens again and that we get the guidance from Seaford Town Council? I also want you to consider whether you would employ somebody from the Royal Town Planning Institute as a planner to assist with this. We need legal advice, we need to understand the plan, and we need to understand the technical detail that is being dealt to us. I will just quote something from the Level 1 Strategic Flood Risk Assessment, which is done by AECOM, and it states, in agreement with Lewis District Council, it was decided not to obtain or rerun the models for Cookmere Stream as it sits entirely outside the LDC area. Fine. However, it goes on to say, this means that detailed flood modelling could not be undertaken as part of this study for the watercourse. Is this legal to allow them to take something out and not consider it? And if it is legal, do they have a more enhanced duty to cooperate with our neighbours, the District Council or the South Downs National Park? This area is where the A259 is, this is where the bridge goes over the bridge at XE, and it can be seen in some of the government maps that in the time of this plan, by 2040, this area could be 3 feet underwater. How can they just leave this out of the plan? Having somebody who had the planning experience, we would be able to take these questions to them for them to go forwards and get explanations for us. The East Sussex Traffic Management Plan should be out soon in spring. Once that is out and they've had time to consider all of the options and everything else, then we will go to the next stage. What I'm asking is, can we try and employ a planner so that we are ahead and ready for this next stage of the consultation that will come out sometime later this year? Seaford is at threat. It was initially going to be a regeneration of the coastline. However, this is turning into intensification, as Seaford will need to have all of the dwellings that we've been told by everybody else, and we will be flooded with new buildings. Please then, can I ask you to help us with some guidance on completing these 179 questions? And please, can I ask you to debate whether or not you would consider using some of the money to employ a planner? Thank you.
Just distributing some maps here for you to look at. I started to examine the local plan and have been dismayed at the poor quality and accuracy of the information and data, particularly with regard to Seaford Head. Just take one example, which is map 76 on top that you're looking at, from the GBI assets typographies. If you look at yellow dot 1, it's basically indicating all the footpaths which they've missed on the plan. There's quite a number of them, as you can see, and this is very important when considering policy DN35 of protecting footpaths. Also, if you look at the yellow dots I've marked as 2 on the plan, most of the woodland is missing in the Seaford area. That is along Chington Lane, Southway, and many other locations. So they haven't put in the woodland here, they haven't put the woodland in here, they haven't put the woodland in here, and they've missed the woodland around here, and they've missed the woodland down here as well. If you look at item number 3, yellow dot number 3, areas identified as grasslands in the key on the right-hand side are not consistent. It's very unclear how this was decided, since some parts of Chington Farm are indicated as grassland, as with where the red dot is, and other parts are not. So this area here has been indicated as grassland, but the rest of the area is just plain white. It's not clear how on earth they came to that sort of conclusion. If you look at yellow dot number 4 on the plan, access landfills are open to public south of South Barn car park. It's completely missed. So it's not even the key says open access parkland, and it's completely missed. They've also missed, if you look at yellow dot 5, any habitat areas where wildlife is currently living, such as badgers, bats, etc., etc. So yellow dot 5 indicates where, at the moment, lots of habitat is. And even more surprising, if you look at yellow dot number 6, in the key it says there's a golf course, and of course it's got the Blackjewton golf course to the north of Seaford, but it's completely missed out Seaford Head golf course. No indication of the campsite is indicated on this plan, or the tourist spots at Chington Farm. That is indicated by yellow dot number 7, and the historic coastguard cottages are not shown on the map. These are part of the world famous viewpoint. That's where it is indicated in yellow dot number 8. Now if we move to the next map below that, which is to do with tourism. This does not recognise. They've got all the tourist spots around this area, but for some reason it does not recognise Seaford Head as a major international visitor centre. In fact, this is probably one of the most important sites in the UK and growing fast. It is not acceptable the LDC draft plan does not recognise the importance and attraction of Seaford Head and the explosion of tourism that has been generated. In one day last year, local residents counted more than 1,000 cars using the access concrete bridleway and more than 700 walkers using it. Now if you move to the next map, map 77.
We're nearly out of time.
Okay. So I hope that you the councillors have time to look at the proposed plan and report to Lewes District Council that it's very substandard and needs to have much more accurate and consequently be changed.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Marion Lyman. It's agenda item 4 again. I'm going to talk about health provision in the Seaford area. We've already heard some of that. There have been very disturbing stories circulating regarding access to GP services in the Seaford area. And none of these are verified, but people are worried, nevertheless. What we do know is that GP surgeries operate with boundaries and that both Seaford practices are clearly struggling. We have all had experience of that, for me only this morning. We also know that outsourcing GP services creates its own extra workload for the local GPs. Furthermore, are the concerns regarding ambulance services, and to quote them, we cover a large area including Brighton and Hove, East and West Sussex, Kent, Surrey and North East Hampshire. An increase in population will place greater demand on the ambulance service, Historically, communities who perceive that they are medically underserved have turned to the ambulance services as their entry point to the NHS. Increased road congestion may also increase response times, and additional community response posts may be required if clinical outcomes are to be maintained and improved. Please, can I ask Seaford Town Council how health provision will be catered for in the Seaford area, given the proposed substantial increase in housing and therefore population? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else? No, I think you've all made the points. Thank you.
Cheers. Is everybody happy that there's nobody else would like to speak? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much once again for your input. It's very much appreciated. Okay. Right. So, agenda item 4, district level plan consultation. To consider report 162/24, introducing Lewis District local plan consultation, page 6 on your agenda. The committee is advised to consider the contents of the report, discuss the draft Lewis District local plan, thematic policies, to discuss the 4 site allocations within Seaford and are being considered in the Lewis District local plan. To feedback to the Assistant Town Clerk any comments for inclusion in Town Council's response to the consultation, and to move on the motions below. So at this stage, it's open to committee for any comments. Who would like to lead on this one? Councillor Richard Hunter.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you for the residents for speaking earlier. Well, just now, really. Where do you start, basically? But at least we cleared up something that, yes, it looks as though the district council aren't going to be talking too much about what happens within the Southland National Park, their local plan. So, that's currently running concurrently, as probably a lot of you know as well. So at least we know the answer to that, why certain things are missing. So I'm sure when we do look into it further, that will be taken into consideration. And I think we're all probably going to have to see what's in the Southland National Park local plan to see if we can see what's within the, and especially the bits around, if you're interested in the whole district. Obviously, all of it is Town, for example, is all in the national park. Right, back to Seaford. Again, bits upsetting, yes. A couple of you did talk about Newland site and the money from the Newland site promising to find the football pitches or sports pitches generally. That wouldn't be really within the local plan, but what the local plan does, it does affect that availability. I know the residents of Seaford will not be happy because I think those missing football pitches could be used at some stage, even if it means. Here we go. I don't think there's even space even in the salts to put another couple of pitches in, even if you really dug all that away, would you? I'm going to guess it here. Where the pitch of putters, could you even put another pitch there? If you excavated it, just food for thought anyway. But at the moment, we'd be very disappointed if the Newlands money does go further along the other parts of the district council. Even though one of it was a district and anywhere else will not be used at all. So that's one item. So I'll come back. I'm going to start anyway. So thank you. I'm going to start, especially over the Newlands pictures.
Yeah.
I think it's.
Yeah. I think residents should know that work has been done in the past few years about trying to find a site for a football pitch within Seaford, and it's very hard to find. Councillor Olivia Hunman.
Thank you. Thank you very much all the members members of the public who've done masses and masses of research. so thank you for that. I particularly wanted to speak on the visitor numbers issue because I think anyone who lives in Seaford is very aware of what Seaford is like, especially in the summer, especially at the weekends. It's quite horrendous, especially when they're parking on the pavements along the sorts because they can't find places to park. It's pretty bad. So I would like it if we can, we need to ask for the visitor numbers for Seaford transport. We need that really looked at because that is a major issue in Seaford. And especially, so thank you to the chap who's done all the maps. I'd really like to see if we can pass these on to the Lewis District Council officers, if that's possible.
Have they been passed on? Sorry, can we
Have these been sent to the Lewis District? So we need to get these sent to the Lewis District Council officers, if that's possible. Because I think this is really useful information about so many bits that have been omitted. It's been mentioned about pods, camping sites not been put on here, lots of things that are missing, and I really think Seaford, we just got to reiterate the fact the visitor numbers, and especially the South Hill Barn, people getting off at the station and then walking through, we are just really, this Seaford really, that needs to be in the local plan, that it's looked at. There's also brought about the point about whether town council employ a planner. That's obviously officers would need to look at the budget for that. It's been brought up about flood modelling. We need to ask if that can be in the plan as well, because Seaford is known. I mean, the Environment Agency have already done flood plans there, so they may be able to use those flood plans that the Environmental Agency have done. I can't remember how many times they redo them, but they do them quite often. So we should be able to get that information from the Environment Agency. Obviously, health provision has been brought up, how that's going to be dealt with. I mean, it was mentioned, or maybe not, or maybe I misheard this, that whether we could use the SIL money to buy the St John's School fields, whether that's something that can be looked into as well. Yeah, it was suggested that the town council buys the fields. I very much agree with the fact Seaford does not have good access. As somebody who commutes from here to North Brighton, it is getting really, really bad to get out to Seaford. It's really bad getting out. If there's any problems at all, we are completely snarled up. I've been commuting north of Brighton for many, many years, and it is, personally, it just seems to be there's an issue almost weekly or twice weekly, and almost daily. There was another one today, going to work as well. Something needs to be done about the road, highways, something. What other points we had brought up here? And I really liked chaps who made a point saying that we need to be bold, we need to be heard, and we need to be our voice. So we need to do what we can for the people of Seaford. So those are just points there, but I really would like to focus on the visitor numbers and there is tomorrow night, there is the South Downs National Park consultation in Lewis, at Lewis Town Hall tomorrow night, which I will be going along to see what's going on and what the officers are saying then.
And that's at 6 o'clock.
That's at 6 o'clock at the Seaford, the Lewis Town Hall. That's tomorrow night, so if that's something to go and look up, because I'd like to know what they say about Seaford from the South Downs National Park point of view.
Councillor Lord.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. Thanks for members of the public for coming out a Tuesday night. It's not the best night in the week to come out. I'd like to pick up on what Mr. Grimble said about the playing fields, because I remember vividly being at a council meeting.
Councillor Lord, can
Sorry.
you speak through the chair?
Sorry. I just have to see Charlie. I might have to Charlie. No, so seriously, what happened, and I don't know if members remember, what happened is that we had not the previous town clerks, it was a clerk before that, and I can't think of his name.
James Curran.
James Curran.
Thank you. And he said, well, makes this very same thing about a football playing field with regards to Section 106 notice for Newman School. And what was said, that we couldn't fit a football field correctly to the size of the standard size of football football field out to the others. And he said, oh, don't worry. He said, I'm in negotiation Sunday, and we're going to secretly buy a piece of land and make it into a football pitch. And so I said to him, oh, what is it? I can't tell you, but we're going to do some secret negotiations. It's dying death. And to be honest, both Mr. Grumman mentioned to me, I'd actually forgotten about it myself. So that's something which needs to be addressed, and time's against us. It really is. And I thank Mr. Grumman for mentioning to me. The map, I just wish that I had this map about a week ago and not presented on the night, because you presented a load of facts and figures and statistics which they're in front of you on the night, you can't absorb them. And I'm not going to look at it because it's too complicated to look at in a few seconds and make a decision. I just wish they'd have been with us a week ago, and I do hope for you, Chair, they can submit it to Lewis District Council, because there's information on there which either contradicts it or isn't on the maps. With regards to tourism, it is a nightmare in Seaford. We're a victim of our own success. And what I'm exacerbated about is the fact that all these people come to Seaford and we don't receive any income from them. They use our public conveniences, they use our beaches, they leave litter, they bring their own food down with them. We've got camp vans on the seafront, this, that and the other. So they close the place up, and we, Seaford Town Council taxpayers, have to pay for it. It's something which we really need to have a look at, how we can address this issue. And we keep mentioning about paying for parking on the seafront. It needs to be looked at. But then, on the other side of the fence, we've got people who live here who park on the seafront because they've got a flat opposite the seafront. Then it becomes rather complicated with having a token system for residents parking. So it's something which we need to look at. The health centre was mentioned. I will tell you, Chair, and members of the public, I fought tooth and absolute nail to have a new health centre where the Downs Leisure Centre is. I fought tooth and nail, and I was brought down. I was voted down at Lewis District Council. I was also booed and hissed by members of the public from Seaford. So I pushed it and pushed and pushed it. There's finance in place. We had to build up a little bit of green land, and I got absolutely slaughtered. So don't think that members of the council here have not pushed for a health centre. We pushed and pushed and pushed, and members of Seaford public don't want them, or they don't want it where it's going to be at the health centre. We mentioned about a member of the Royal Town Planning Institute. They are few and far between. Believe you me, and I know, I'm actually a surveyor by profession, I know one or two, and they charge between £300 to £500 an hour. They cost you an absolute fortune. And we'll be lucky to find one to fight on our behalf, because basically they see a structure plan and that's it. The structure plan is produced by the District Council, by Royal Town Surveyors, Town Planning Institute, and they all basically say, well, that's it. And thanks so much. And the highways, well, I agree with Councillor Hollywood, it's an absolute nightmare. And how you're going to get around that, I haven't got a clue. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Gordon.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just want to echo the thanks for members of the public for not just this evening but all the reports we've had and the amount of in-depth information we've had. It's been helpful because there is a lot to read. But just a couple of things is, there was one point the District Council was like, forgetting Seaford, we didn't get social housing, we don't see anything that the District Council puts into Seaford, and it seems that Seaford is just forgotten about again with this local plan. A couple of the comments that were mentioned that I'd already written down before this evening's meeting was, our open spaces are more important than housing. Once they've been built on, they're going to be lost forever. And actually, this local plan goes against so many of our neighbourhood plan policies that local residents put so much time and effort, and the council, into producing to protect Seaford. And actually we do need to fight this, but just trying to pull some information from what everyone said and what we've all read and everything this evening, just to try and get more information to form a response ready for the next meeting. I actually think we maybe need to have an informal meeting where it's not a public open meeting, an informal one with maybe some of the residents, and just so we can
Get our act together.
clash about different ideas and different things and actually formulate a more comprehensive response, because we can't do that in just this evening's meeting with a few emails over the next couple of weeks ready for the next meeting. So I think we do need an informal meeting just for the local plan. It might be a 2-hour meeting, it might be a 3-hour meeting, but I think we do need to do that next week or so.
We need things like this beforehand, not on the now.
But then we've got this now ready for all that.
Thank you, Councillor.
But that would be my recommendation, to do an informal meeting, because there's so many.
Councillor Meek.
Thank you, Chair. As you know, I'm not normally on this committee, although I have been in the past. I'd also like to thank all the members of the public who I've been involved with long discussions, backs and forwards with emails, and their fact-finding and diligence in ferreting out information and uncovering lost and hidden aspects of the local plan has been unbelievable, actually. So all credit to the members of the public, because we wouldn't have been able to cope with it. I absolutely endorse what Councillor Bourne said. I think we do need, there's so much to try and get through, and we can't do it in a public meeting where standing orders prohibit the people to talk and come back on things that we might say. They aren't allowed to come back and have a round-the-table discussion, so I think that's critically important. So I think that would be really good to do that, Chair. Thank you very much. We're asked to do all sorts of things here, to consider the thematic policies and all things like that. There's a huge, I mean, if we went through everything, it would take us, right the way through till midnight, I think. But I do want to just stress one or two things. I'm on Lewis District Council planning, and we've had so many problems with rebuffing the fact that we haven't had a local plan over the last couple of years. And without that local plan, developers have been able to go to appeal, and even though we've tried to protect green sites, particularly in the Weald, north of the National Park, and we've lost, and we've been fined lots of money. So councillors at Lewis District Council, the PAC committee, have tried to stop these developments going forward. But we've been taken to task by the government inspector, because the government inspector, both on the previous administration and this, they're just desperate to get houses built. Yeah. And if it's on prime agricultural green land, the developers like that much better. About 3 years ago, the LGA published a report which said there were 1 million planning permissions granted in the country which developers hadn't taken up. So I actually wrote to the LGA a couple of weeks ago and said, this was in 2021, and I said, what is the situation now? So that we can go to Angela Rayner and say, why aren't you insisting that developers develop the stuff that's already got planning permission, is in the system? It's actually what they call oven ready, Why won't they do it? Because they're often brownfield sites. They cost more to develop, and therefore they don't want to do them. They want to go for the low-hanging fruit. Anyway, so we are in a cleft stick on this, and I feel with the present government, we're even more of a cleft stick, because they're trying to even get away with any of these policies that are put in the way. It's like a kind of Trumpian purge. And I feel it's terrible, because all those things we relied on, and we hope to still rely on as policies, actually, if you look at some of the fine details of the new NPPF, it says that a government inspector can overrule those if he decides that house building is more important. So it's very important that we keep these policies, but we have to recognise that we're still going to be up against it, with perhaps an inspector deciding off his or her own back to push it through anyway. Regarding the local plan now, I did actually hope that a friend of mine on Lewis District Council, who's been very involved with the local plan and how it's going along, would be able to come, and he said he couldn't, but he did write something. Chair, could I read this out? Because I think it's very important for people to understand this situation, and he's written it, and he says it much better than I would be able to. He said, just to emphasise that these early sites are not allocations, but are sites which have been proposed, which LDC is obligated to consider. and that so far the evidence suggests are developable stroke deliverable. If there's good evidence which the government allows us to take into account against allocating these sites, we'd love to have it submitted to the consultation so that we know it if we're trying to defend not taking them forward to the government inspector. And not all the evidence is in yet, brackets e.g. transport. And there will be a further consultation, including for these sites, later in the year. It's really important to get the plan through the government hurdles process so that we can have more local control over development. And feedback on the detailed policy wording is really important at this stage, as the policies are what future planning applications will be assessed and decided against. Now, one person suggested that Chington Field should be taken out of this draft local plan. What we must need to recognise is that the government will look really badly on Lewis District if it doesn't put anything in the plan, in the draft plan. We've got to show that we've exercised due diligence in trying to find sites. Once we put them as a draft, we can then hope to defend them with all the policies and areas of exceptional character and all these kind of policies we've accepted before and have been policies. So that otherwise, if we don't put them into the plan, we don't stand a hope, because the government inspector is going to say, well, you haven't done your work, and there's nothing allocated as draft. Do you see what I mean? So I know it sounds crazy, but we would maybe like not to have Chington Field in the plan, but if we don't put it in, and I know it's outside the settlement boundary, we've got to fight it once it's been kind of allowed to be in the draft. Do you see what I mean? Which may sound crazy. I don't want to go on too much longer, but that's what I feel at the moment.
No, that's useful information, and like if we have evidence that we don't want Chington Fields, it's in our neighbourhood plan, as it was mentioned earlier this evening. So if we can prove that it's not necessary, hopefully it gives some weight. But I do support Councillor Borland to recommend an informal meeting, because we can collate all what's been said tonight and get evidence why we think that the certain pieces of land should not be included in the local plan, and also collate the information and evidence to support it. So yeah, thank you everybody for your input. Does anybody want to come back on what's been said? No?
Yes, one thing I forgot to say, sorry, Chair, thank you. Bill Frost mentioned the fact that Seaford might not benefit Seaford to have some of these developments in the town, because they won't benefit local people. Well, the riposte to that will be the government is demanding that Lewis District provide that requirement of housing. And it doesn't matter to the government inspector where it is, because it's the provision for the district. So this is what we're up against, is that the coastal strip is identified as an easy place to put it, because it's not in the national park and it's not in the kind of the green wheels. But it doesn't necessarily have to be for the benefit of local residents. It's just a requirement, a housing requirement. Sorry, just to clarify that.
Thank you.
One thing, Chair, that's okay. I know a couple of people, I know the neighbourhood plan has been mentioned, but even though it does say it's going to be due the same time as the local plan, but the local plan does take precedence in the air, doesn't it? And the chances of us doing, the local plan doing call for sites, that's not going to happen either, is it? Probably not. So I mean, the certain thing, it's updates, not major, starting from scratch neighbourhood plan, as far as I know. Unless it needs updating, and it's always been thought that once you get the local plan and the South Downs National local plan in place, the trouble from the
then we can update the neighbourhood plan. Although evidence has come forward since that thought that Lewis said we should start updating it now.
Yeah, well, you want to see that absolutely in writing or whatever.
Yeah, but it doesn't that we can go through the neighbourhood plan and make a start, but then so we have made a start on it.
Yeah.
Okay, so shall we just do that recommendation?
Yeah, I'm just editing that now, because we can just edit this recommendation here. So I'll just do that quickly.
Yeah, so we'll keep it crossed out.
So I'm changing it to instruct the assistant town clerk to arrange an informal meeting with the committee to draft the town council's response.
Right, okay.
So then come back up here. So go from there, and then go to there.
And we don't number 2.
That's still be there.
That's still be there.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Start right
So the recommendations is 1, to instruct the assistant town clerk to arrange an informal meeting for the committee to draft the town council's response to Lewis District Local Plan consultation. And then 2, to note that it will finalise the town council's response at the next Planning and Highways Committee meeting, Thursday the 20th of February. Here?
No, that's what I've got a question.
Sorry,
Sorry, Chair, I think it should read an informal meeting of the committee and members of the public.
Yes. Yes, okay. Yes.
Thank you.
That's all I'm saying.
Right. Councillor
I'm assuming, obviously, at the informal meeting, I'm assuming the assistant town clerk is sitting right to my left, is going to sort of make a start on some sort of draft, then you're going to use projectors and so on, and you're going to go through bit by bit. Is that, it's not going to be completely free for all, that's what I was trying to say.
I would say this is the start, I'll then put that together and we'll then build on it and then go from there.
That's all right.
I can't do that, yeah, I'm going to say. You've got quite a load of information for now. And
there will be a lot of work involved prior to the meeting.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then it's got what I call pull it to bits and then
absolutely.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm happy with that.
To go to the next meeting.
Yeah.
Councillor Lee?
Sorry, Chair. Will the public get fair notice of when that meeting would be?
Yeah, so sorry, through you, Chair, I do need to obviously take this back and see how it fits in, because I have until Friday to actually get my report ready, which obviously won't happen. So I will also need to go back and check that I can push everything back a bit. So yeah, it would have to be, we would go with the minimum of 3 clear days anyway, just as good practice. Yeah.
Okay. It's not an official...
It's not, it would be an informal meeting, but for good practice we would always do 3 clear days.
And we'll have the next Planning and Highways meeting here.
Yeah.
So
the formal meeting will be here.
The next formal Planning and Highways meeting with the sort of the final draft of the of our response will be on Thursday the 20th of February at 7 o'clock here. Okay. Right, so can I have a proposer and seconder, please?
Sorry, can I just ask? Obviously, we're going to invite members of the public. How are we going to sort of, I don't really know, how are we going to hold it together? How are we going to sort of, try not to use the word control the numbers? Because if it's too many people, it's going to make it, how are we actually going to, are we going to worry about the logistics afterwards?
Sorry through you, Joe, I need to take this back and
because we can have hundreds of people turning up.
Yeah.
So how are we going to...
I suggest that we probably have representation.
Well, that's what I was thinking. We have
each group.
Each
group. Yeah. If I think that will work quite well.
Yeah, I just otherwise it could.
The logistics needs to be worked out.
Yeah, the logistics needs to be worked out.
Yeah,
but it's just suggested maybe people who are here.
Yes.
I did think about suggesting that, but then I thought there might be somebody who wasn't well, who would have been here.
I think
we have a list of names, don't we?
So I will need to go back and have a think. And obviously I will need to check venue, which might not be available, so I'll need to go back and check everything. I'll do
I
that.
thought we talked this
For the 20th we have.
Yeah.
But if we're adding in another meeting, I'll need to find a venue for that. The 20th is still going to be our formal.
Yeah.
So I need to put something in Monday.
Okay, right.
Sounds against us.
Councillor
So
Hunter.
as an aside, before we get off the topic, back to tomorrow's meeting, I know it's Seaford National Park. It's also District Council, they're doing a rerun as well, basically. All the officers you saw in Seaford last week are going to be there as well. And don't forget, a lot of the work for Seaford National Park done with the District Council anyway, because they do very work on agency basis, so they work on behalf of the National Park, as everyone, well, a lot of people here probably know that's what really happens. So if the public want another stab at the cherry talking to a lot of officers, tomorrow night at Lewis could be a very good evening for them if they want to have another conversation.
Okay, so that's at 6 o'clock at
Lewis Town Hall.
Lewis Town Hall.
I'm sorry, just through your chair, just going back to this informal one that we're looking at, and I don't want to make any promises, but when I go back tomorrow, it could be that I need to look at moving the formal meeting to say the 27th of November, 27th of February, and then keeping the 20th of February as the informal, but I will obviously let everyone know and we'll work everything out and we'll get out information. Is that right?
You'll need our email addresses. You'll need our email addresses on the way out, because we haven't given any email addresses.
And the 27th.
We've only got our names.
Because it's the next day.
Well, just finish up, Chair, I'll just put a little notice in the plan that says the informal meeting will be on such and such day. And it's up to them to choose their
We can work on
I
it
need to write this out to you tomorrow.
We got a proposal from Councillor Foreman. Does that find a seconder?
Could you read it?
Right. To instruct the assistant town clerk to draft the town council. Oh, sorry. To instruct the assistant town clerk to arrange an informal meeting for the committee and public to draft the town council's response to the Lewis District local plan consultation. And two, to note that it will finalise the Town Council's response at the next Planning and Highways Committee meeting on Thursday the 20th of February. Okay? So that's that, find a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Nick. And can I have a show of hands, please? And that's unanimous. Thank you. Right, thank you everybody for coming once again. And
So, Chair, what did you say? I don't know.
we'll be in contact.
I will feed back your concerns.
Thank you. Right. Now we go on to planning applications.
Oh, is that what we don't know about that?
What happened? Right, planning applications received in the week commencing Monday the 30th of December. LW/24/0801, 11 Park Road. Conversion of the existing garage and addition of a single-storey rear extension to form an annex. Any members of the public like to comment on this application? Open to the committee. Any would like to lead on this one?
I think that's enough.
Councillor Gordon.
I couldn't actually make up my mind on this one. I know it's single-storey rear extension, and it's a conversion of an existing garage. And a lot of garages aren't used anymore for cars because of the size of them. But I think because it's to form an annex, that's an additional maybe family member or family members. But the driveway isn't very large if they're with no garage as well. So I'm thinking that actually they may not have the space for parking, and it's not really a road to park on either. So I've got concerns about that. But I'm not too sure whether there's anything else I can vote to to object to it as such.
So I'm happy to hear other comments.
Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Chair. Is it allowable to build right on the boundary line? I thought there used to be.
The garage is on the boundary line.
So therefore anything else can be built down the boundary line beyond it?
I mean, what I picked up on that, it's got windows on the neighbouring side. So if they need the light, but I suggest that we recommend that the windows are obscured.
It says it. I think they are. Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments? Anybody want to do a proposal?
Well, I'll propose it, Chair. It is what it is. It's an existing garage, and a bit of an extra on the back. And to be honest with you, if I had family staying with me, I want to get in the garage as well, out of the house. So, with that in mind, it is what it is, and yeah, okay, I'll propose it, to be honest with you, Chair.
Does that find a seconder?
Interesting, Chair. I can't find any of my notes, so that's good. I left it in the car, I left it at home.
Councillor Lee, you're seconding? Yeah. So can I have a show of hands for supporting this application? Those against and those abstaining?
That's great.
Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Planning application is received in the week commencing Monday the 6th of January. LW stroke 24 stroke 0776, blocks 3 and 4, the boundary, application of a silicone render system to external brickwork on all elevations of the flats. Members of the public like to comment? Open to the committee. Councillor Lord.
Thanks, Chair. At the moment, it's basically opposite where I live, give or take. And they've actually done one block without planning permission. And I know some do it. The reason they've done it is because I know people who live in an adjacent block. It's because they're so close to the seafront and they're getting penetrating damage going across the cavity into the actual block's property. And if they don't do this, then basically they'll property with dampness in them. And it's basically, it's silicone render is basically a waterproof render. And I would say I'd make a provision of what colour they're going to use. Because there's a yellow one on the first block, and I don't like that one, but that's just too bad it's been done now. I would prefer it was like a more of a mellow colour, like a light grey or something like that. But anyway, they've done one and it obviously works. It does work. It's very, very expensive, and the leaseholders will have to pay for it. So yeah, I've not got a problem. It's going to have to be done, I'm afraid.
Okay, so you're supporting the application? Yeah. Okay. I think I've got Councillor Honeyman first.
Okay, thank you. I just looked up about sewer-based render and it said about the fact it should only be done in the summer, so...
It has to be done in the summer, the brick was tried, it's percentage of moisture level, yeah.
Yeah, there's an if not, so I thought that was fine to do if it's going to actually stop the place deteriorating, because reading the report it said it looks like it's deteriorating, so they need to do this. But obviously only when it should be done, otherwise the little bits that I read about it said that if you do it at the wrong time, you're just basically waiting, and all you're going to do is actually cause more problems.
It brings the moisture inside the property.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you seconding Councillor Lawes?
Yes.
Yeah. Councillor Bowman?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I was quite happy with it. I'd thought that blocks 1 and 2 we'd actually approved about a year ago. So because it was going to protect the building for longer. So yeah, no, quite happy to support this one.
Any other comments? So can I have a show of Councillor Richard?
I did check this one. I don't know what my notes have gone. This one's nicked it. But anyway, basic, yeah, but I was reading from them earlier, so it's interesting where it has gone. I did check if they're flammable. 10 minutes don't end up flammable.
No,
so that's fine. I would have thought you would have checked that anyway. Turning up, here we go. So, yeah, what did I say? I made about flammable, didn't I? Can you read my writing? I can't read it anyway. So flammable, they're not flammable, typically. 842C.
Thousand degrees basically.
That's quite hot, isn't it?
Yeah.
So they've definitely got that to worry about, so I support it.
Okay, so, right, can I have a show of hands in support of this application? And that's unanimous. Thank you. LW/24/0780, Seaford Head Lower School. Stabilisation works to the embankment situated adjacent to the Stane Road boundary, involving the removal of existing vegetation, benching the existing slope into 450mm steps, backfilling in 150mm layers with crushed boundary wall and soil to achieve a slope angle of 30 to 35 degrees, and installation of an erosion control mat, 150mm topsoil and grass seed. Any members of the public?
Right, thank you, Chair. Thank you, councillors. In the interest of seeing things through, Councillor Christine Bratt, Seaford South. As many of you know, I have been involved with residents and the saga of this fence for some time. I can remember very clearly in the previous administration sitting here and listening to Councillor Lord talking about it very eloquently. Right, does that make a change? Right, now basically this latest iteration was validated on the 6th of January while I was actually overseas, and I've been overseas for the entire month with no access to obviously email for all of January because they've got new security regulations. So now we kind of go into complete hurdle. We don't know anything if we're not here. But fortunately, obviously residents started writing into me again, which I couldn't see their emails, but they wrote to Councillor Lambert as well, and she then told me what was going on. Now, the thing that people got very upset about was that vegetation was removed very early in January, which was the first part of this application. So I don't know why that has already taken place. And they also got very upset because the diggers were working on the bank, and when they put the fence up, they blocked off the end where, you know, the badgers and the foxes used to go through that gate at the very end.
I do.
I don't know what the badgers and foxes and other wildlife are supposed to do now, but I just thought the committee should be aware that that's happened. I don't know why they started at the beginning of January, because the weather, I gather, has been absolutely awful. It's probably a quagmire. And I'm a bit disappointed that they didn't wait for it to come to the committee before they did start. That's really about all I want to say about this today. Okay. I mean, obviously I realise we are where we are, but I'm just disappointed at the way they've done. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I thought it was a retrospective application because the work's nearly finished.
Yeah.
Do I get a chance?
Yes,
Yeah,
sorry.
sorry.
Sorry, sir.
I'm the chair of the Seaford Learning Trust, so I know a little bit about the context around this. The works that have been completed are in line with the previous planning application. The works that are outstanding are in relating to this application, and are be under the guidance of the Lewis planning lady and her recommendations, and she specifically excluded the previous application for the bank, which I think was 45 degrees before, and she says it's got to be shallower and have this matting above. The works were done because it was an ideal opportunity for the contractors to do it. They're working around the rest of the site where we've got the rest of the boss, we've got the funds, and January was an area that they started the works that were approved. And I think that their plan has always been to wait until this application to complete the works, and the lady that specified them has been on site at various stages since the wall came down and is fully aware of the development of the works that are being managed by the contractors.
Well, thank you, clerk, on that. I live about 50 yards from this particular development, so I drive past it twice a day, every single day. The first thing which I have to correct the gentleman about is when they put the temporary Irish fencing up, There was a gale that blew there is fencing all over the place. It was rather dangerous. And I honestly, truthfully thought this application had been rejected and was upheld by the planning inspectorate. And I was so...
It was a different one.
Oh, different, okay. Oh, that's okay. And so it's actually started and they've now put the gates up, and what they do now, I think the embankment we're talking about is about, I would say, 50, 60, 70% complete. There's shuttering in place, putting concrete foundations for each posts to support the actual the fences. So it's well on its way to being completed. Make no mistake about that. And I honestly, when I saw it, I thought, I honestly thought, because I think by the end of this time next week, the fence will be completed in its entirety. And I thought it was a retrospective one. Obviously, it's come through, we've not approved it, and they're actually working on it as we speak. It's in its place, it is what it is, but there you go. It's actually retrospective in actual fact.
It isn't an application for the fence.
Are the committee happy that we let the gentleman speak a bit further, because we have opened the debate? Yeah, so suspend standing orders.
Yeah, we have a little bit.
Yeah.
We'll work out what it really
did
is.
this last time. This isn't an application for the fence. This is an application, and they are the foundations of the posts and bits and pieces. That work has been approved. This is for the profiling of the bank that hasn't happened. The wall that will form, or the seawall that was demolished and has been crunched up, will form part of the foundation of that profiling, but that's just being installed at the site. So the works that this application relates to have not been completed, and the works that are going on site are for works that have been approved, having been through this committee and gone off to Lewis.
And that's the stabilisation of the bank?
The stabilisation of the bank hasn't been done, because that is the bit that protrudes into the field.
Yeah,
the foundations, the bit behind the Harris fencing, and that was a named storm that's caused millions of pounds worth of damage nationwide. That we can't be held responsible for a weather storm that's come across and knocked over the Harris fencing. So I think that it's slightly disingenuous to suggest that we're not applying or following the rules.
Well, I disagree with you, but as far as I'm concerned, when I looked at it this week, because I saw it here, the work is well and truly underway. And you're actually putting shuttering in place for concrete posts, which will support the base of the
fence.
The fence post, yeah.
But that's been approved.
Yeah.
Well, that isn't the application that we're putting for tonight.
Which has been approved.
Okay, I think I'll bring in standing orders again. Are we happy that I do that?
Yes.
Okay, so Councillor Bourne.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Obviously, there was an application for the fence approved, and along the way they've found they need to do the stabilisation, so they've put in this planning application to support the fence and the wall that's in situ. So I'm happy to propose that we actually accept and support this application.
Okay. Councillor Olivia Hammond?
Yes, there was members of the public, well, the one person who'd put an objection on the website up to yesterday or this morning. Didn't see any more. There were comments there made about the fact there hadn't been any wildlife impacts assessment done on this stabilisation works, this particular planning application. There hadn't been anything done on that, so that's just something I think at this stage we probably just need to note. But it was a valid point, because they've talked before about the fact that there was badgers found there, and yes, the only objections came on the 15th of January about the wildlife impact. So I just want to add that into the comments, but as this isn't retrospective because the fence has already been agreed. I think that's probably why we've all got a little bit confused as to what this actually is for.
Yeah. Okay. Councillor Mead.
Thank you, Chair. From what has been said, and I have never seen the site from the inside, well, I probably have a long time ago, so I don't know what the vegetation was before, but from what people have said and the fact that there wasn't a biological assessment done, biodiversity assessment done, I would suggest that if you are just going to make this profile, which is fine, I think it sounds like it's better as a shallower profile, certainly. However, I think just grass seeding it sounds to me like it's biodiversity net loss, because we should be doing something much more kind of proactive, I think, if we're looking to biodiversity net gain. So I would suggest that as opposed to just saying you just grass seed it, why can't it be wildflower seeded or something like that, which students could get involved with and help kind of suggestions and engage them with the biodiversity aspect of that. It's their playing field. And it's something that if it's a bank, you will see.
Yeah.
And if there's wildflowers on it or something like that, I thought there'd be much better use of the space. And also, if it's wildflowers, you could use a very low-grade soil. You don't want prime topsoil, which is very enriched. In fact, you want things like crushed concrete and whatever else. That would be fine with a bit of kind of overlay of a thin topsoil. So that would be my suggestion, Chair. I don't know if anyone else would support that.
Okay. Councillor Bridget Bannerman.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I like the sentiment of what Councillor Mick's saying. I mean, obviously, it's partly probably a construction area, isn't it? So it's going to be out downs with the pupils, isn't it, to do the grassing and seeding. I like the idea of it, but it might not be at this stage, unless it's a later on they can get more involved with that side of things. But yeah, obviously most schools, including Seaford and Lower, do have sort of gardens and what they call farm areas these days, don't they? So, but whether or not, yeah, I like the idea if you could explore that, but I don't think it might not even work because of that issue, the safety side, possibly. That's all. That's what I was going to say.
I mean,
But I support it.
Yeah.
I'm supporting it
I
overall.
mean, at the moment, we've got support proposals that we're supporting this application, and we can put in like the committee sort of recommends that rewilding the banks, that sort of wording, and also mention about the wildlife has been blocked off.
Can I just come back on the wildlife? Because I think the wildlife, when it was the original applications, was the other side of the field, not the Stane Road.
All right, I'm only going one.
Yeah, but I guess the Stane Road side is where you've got that wall right up by Stane Road, so all the badgers and everything were all round the other end, as far as I'm aware, and that's why they would have had for the fencing when they needed those.
Okay, I mean, what I can't remember now is whether the actual resident mentioned badgers in that section, but I did look up about badgers and Protection of Badgers Act, but it definitely the point was made that there hadn't been a wildlife assessment done for this application.
Okay. So,
and I think you gentlemen here who supported the application will be able to take back the wildflower rather than just the grass back.
I don't think that's an unreasonable request. I think that there's an element of practicality from the groundskeeping that comes into some of these wild meadows and bits, but it was an area that was sectioned off from the pupils. But yeah, I don't see that's a difficulty.
okay.
Can we suggest something?
Yes.
I would second it with that amendment.
So it's seconded by Councillor Meek, and can I have a show of hands on supporting this application? And that's unanimous. And that's with the rewilding.
Your evening now, my interest has been done. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. LW/25/0002, Thrift Cottage, Edinburgh Road. Application for a single-storey rear extension, alterations to side window. You members of the public, are you happy for us to go straight through now, Councillor Brett?
Yes, sorry.
Okay. Open to the committee. would like to? Okay. Councillor Richard Cameron.
Thank you. Yes, I mean, there was one member probably who was studying it so carefully that they thought they may see a little bit more out their window. I think looking at the Conservative, I don't think it's enough to say no. In that respect.
I think it's looking at, it's obviously on the rear flats on the corner, but there seems to be quite a good gap between, if it was a double story, you might have an issue with overshadowing. But I don't think a single story.
No, I didn't think so, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It does, well, yeah, absolutely. You'd have to think of it a bit more carefully.
Okay. Councillor Olivia Hammond?
Yeah, it was just actually an observation with the maps that we were given that it was really helpful that one of them had an existing and proposed block plan on the same page.
Yes.
It was really, really helpful because often you're comparing, you're trying to remember what's on one or the other, but could we put that into a future thing? That
they all come
on the same, proposed existing on the same page.
I think we have said it before.
Yeah, but that's just an observation. But obviously there is the resident who is also very stressed about the fact that it's going to be blocking out. But I think it's only single story, so it makes it really difficult to object to it.
And there is quite a reasonable gap, and it's not so very close proximity.
Yeah.
Councillor Orman.
Yeah, and when you look at it, they've already got a slight extension over one side, so it's more like just a squaring off of that extension. Yes, it's bigger than what there's already there, but as I say, it's single story, which means there isn't going to be that loss of light because of the height of it. So I'm quite happy to support this.
Okay. So, did I get a proposal?
No proposal.
All right. Proposed by Councillor Bournemouth, seconded by Councillor Richard Hammond, and now show hands of support. That's unanimous. Thank you. Planning applications received in the week commencing Monday the 13th of January. LW/24/0800, 53 Kingsmead, application for first floor front extension.
I'm having the opposite issue. I found this really difficult to work out. That there wasn't that many plans on this. I found this a little bit difficult to work out what was going on really. I would say there wasn't, my personal thing when I looked at it was like, I'm really struggling with working this one out. So I can't really decide either way.
Okay. Who's next? Councillor Bournemouth.
So I couldn't see much difference between this one and the last one.
I couldn't.
I'm like, what is the difference to put in a new application? So
yeah, and it's still set back.
Yeah.
I looked at the old one as well and I still couldn't.
Well, I couldn't see any
There was
difference.
no difference.
Maybe that's why I was struggling, because I couldn't find any.
And it's still cedar boarding like it was in the previous one. So, yeah. Councillor Richard Hanneman?
I'd support it. I mean, it looks like a double fun effectively what you've got, isn't it? That's what they're trying to do, fitting in and stuff, aren't they? So I support it. Yeah, again, I couldn't really see anything too dissimilar. I didn't study plan by plan. Wasn't an awful lot to study on the new one, is there? That's what can't believe I was saying, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, but I don't think it's not enough to turn anything down or anything. So I'd support.
Okay, right. So, proposed by Councillor Bournemouth, seconded by Councillor Hanneman. I can have a show of hands, please. I'm actually unanimous.
Just.
I'm a bit worried about saying yes when I'm not.
Right, LW/25/0019, 25 Beacon Road, and it should read addition of front porch.
Sorry.
It wasn't well.
I was looking for something bigger when I opened up the plans.
I was thinking,
right,
it's like, it's only a question, I don't understand.
Yeah, it's Councillor Gorman.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I actually think it improves the property. It's quite a nice little porch, and it kind of improves the property. So I'm happy to support it.
Yeah, the only criticism I have is it's not shown on the block plan. The proposed block plan.
So I saw it on one.
I didn't. Anyway, so your proposal to support it. Any other comments? Does that find a seconder? Councillor Mead. And can I have a show of hands of supporting the application? And that's unanimous. There were no planning applications received in week commencing Monday the 20th of January. Now we go on to tree works, TW/24/0128/TPO, Amenity Land, Foster Close. And this is also Blatchington Tennis Club. Bordering on the...
Yeah. I should declare an interest there, because not 2 or 3 people from the tennis club, but in actual fact...
Councillor Lord.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. It's straightforward, goes back to the site boundary, and make sure the trees which you cut off, you put them back on the boundary where they come from. That's the law. Very petty, but that's the law. Well, nobody bothers anyway, just put down a scrabble. But yeah, I'm going to support this application.
Yeah.
It's funny, the law is that if the branch hangs over your house, your boundary, and you've cut it off, that bit you cut off, you've got to give it back to your neighbour. Weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
I thought we go ahead with this.
And I think we need to...
I've 3-4 bags of rubber here as well.
I thought it was, I thought it was that you could give that measure. You don't have to. But you can dispose of it yourself.
Yeah,
you all have the right to chuck it back over their way.
It's considered neighbourly. They offer the return of the branches back. Otherwise, it's considered as theft. Can you believe it this day and age? But anyway, a few bags of rubber will cross as well. You're all right.
It's just being neighbourly that you should consult with your
I support the application, Chair.
But I think we need to add, especially with this time of year coming, that you must do it before the birds.
Yeah, we're talking that. Well, funny enough, we've got some skylarks nesting and some rough land to look after, and they nest in about 2 months early. So I'm a bit concerned because we're going to cut the grass out to stop it, and some rough moorland, some rough heathland, and we've had to stop the cutting. They've actually started breeding now. It's been so mild.
Yes.
And that's what we're doing now. They try and get another one in before the end of the summer in September. So the last year we couldn't mow this area. I mean, it was absolutely bloody awful. And we were trying to mow another area. This woman came along, right, I'm just telling you quickly. She laid down in front of a tractor with these massive big cutters on the back. So I said, oh, car's so short. So look, I said, not be funny, but can you move? I said, the skylights. I said, no. I said, I've had the boys walking in front of the tractor to make sure. I said, oh, you're flushing them out. We're not flushing them out. So she wouldn't move, you lay down, right? So I said, just drive over it. You know, you're so frustrated, you know. And so we just leave the field, leave it easy. But it cost me a fortune to pay the blokes not to do work like that, innit? That's what it goes.
Anyway.
Okay.
So,
can
proposed by Councillor Lord, can that find a seconder? Councillor Olivia Honeyman, and can I have a show of hands, please? And that's unanimous. Thank you. Go on to agenda item 6. To notify the committee of decisions taken by Lewes District Council and South Downs National Park Authority on applications previously considered by this committee. And you're recommended to note the report unless you've got any comments. Do you want to make any comments on that?
I haven't got anything to add, thank you,
Noted. So, Can I have a show of hands of notable report, please?
There's nothing wrong there. Sorry.
Thank you. So that concludes tonight's meeting at 20:56. Well done, everyone.
Thank you.